last night in basketball, the latest of the games, the most recent thing we saw was maybe the number one team in the country in Auburn, dominating North Carolina. They never trailed in the contest, 85-72. They turn around today and play at 4 o'clock Central Time on ESPN against Memphis, a surprise matchup. It's not UConn that Auburn's going to end up playing for the championship because they've lost 2 in a row. It is Memphis today, and there's a lot to unpack here, but the Iowa State game was a great game. Auburn took North Carolina to the woodshed last night.
Well, I think that 12-2 run that opened the second half was the difference. I'm not going to pretend that I watched this game. Our friend from Greg from Pell City texted me after the Alabama game, and he was like, that was a March game in November. And I was like, I agree. I was like, I don't know about you, but there ain't a chance in hell I'm going to be able to make this Auburn North Carolina game.
It was a blowout from the beginning, but it got to within 3 points, and then it was a 7-2 run to end, and then the big run to start the second half, and that's where Auburn put it away. It was much like we talk about football, the middle 8. North Carolina fought back in it. They just don't have the horses that Auburn has in both the games. We'll get to Alabama in a second, but both the games, the depth and the ability to play defense and swarm the way they do. Auburn, I'm not joking when I say Johni Broome right now playing like an All-American that he is, and this team's good enough to do what I thought they could do last year.
We saw flashes last year, and then he continued to get better and better, or I should say we saw flashes 2 years ago. I don't think anybody realized, and I know we'll get to Alabama in a little bit, but both Mark Sears and Johni Broome, transferring into these programs, and they have become elite college basketball players. We'll see what their future holds after these years or this final year. But, Broome just completely dominated the boards last night. 19 rebounds. Not only that, involved in everything. 5 assists, had the 3 blocks. Best player on the court. R.J. Davis is, a preseason All-American. Didn't have a great game last night for Carolina. I don't even think it would have mattered. I think Broome was that good last night.
As you watch the game, though, Brandy, one thing that was, their best player, North Carolina, was R.J. Davis. And the way Bruce and Steven were able to, he only shot the ball 11 times. Their best player, the guy they want shooting the ball, they prevented him from shooting the ball. He only had 11 shots, 12 points, season low.
Yeah, great defense. And I said it yesterday after the Iowa State game, and it's only more accurate today, I think. If you did a rolling number one in the nation, like Kenpom does, Kenpom had a weird reaction to yesterday's game. The stats have corrected themselves, or a weird reaction to Monday's game. The stats have corrected themselves after last night. Auburn's number one in Kenpom. If you did a rolling number one, there is zero doubt in my mind Auburn would be number one in the country. Kansas is good.
I was going to say, I don't know.
Based on what they've accomplished, having beaten Houston, Iowa State, and North Carolina, that's going to be hard to look back.
Kansas does have a couple of big-time wins, including last night over Duke, where, Hunter Dickerson, I know we'll probably get into that at some point.
Go ahead. Let's get into them, man.
Well, I just, a kick to the head. It was very Duke-like. It was very Grayson Allen-like, the old trips back in the day. Loose ball on the floor. I think he was frustrated and should have been thrown out of the game. You guys agree, right?
Oh, I thought he should have been ejected. Yeah. At least a flagrant one. If you wanted to go just one flagrant, that'd been fine. But flagrant 2 to send him out was okay with that. In that game, the LT is talking about Hunter Dickerson ejected with about 10 minutes and change going. Still a Kansas win, 75-72 in that made-for-TV game in Las Vegas. Back to Auburn. If we can. They get Memphis today, a team we saw as we did the broadcast up in Huntsville. And Alabama beat them in that exhibition game where there were no fouls. You couldn't foul out of the game. There were a lot of fouls. You just couldn't foul out of the game. Memphis now has beaten UConn, and now they advance on to play Auburn. And we even said when we watched that team, we were like, God, I know Memphis isn't ranked, and UAB, they're in the same league, and UAB got them last year as far as representing, winning the conference tournament. This Memphis team looks like they could be pretty good. Well, here they are. They're unbeaten. They're 6-0. They've beaten UConn. They've got quality wins now, and now they're about to play Auburn today. This will be a war between some big men in the paint.
Well, and P.J. Haggerty, the transfer for Memphis, was the guy that we talked about in that game. That was where the offense was supposed to go through, and he hasn't disappointed. He's averaged over 21 points per game. They've yet to lose a game, and they've had a difficult schedule.
Yeah, they have. And I saw, I think it was Jeff Goodman asked the question, Memphis' last 2 wins, what's more surprising, that they've won the game or that Penny Hardaway has beaten those 2 coaches?
Yeah.
I mean, that was a shot at Penny Hardaway by Jeff Goodman, but
I mean, does it blow you guys away through 6 games? Memphis is shooting as a team 49% from the field and 45% behind the arc.
It does blow me away having seen a bit of preseason.
That team didn't look like they could shoot at all. We knew they had great athletes. They had length. They had everything. Yeah. But, and back to Dunaway's point, hey, if these guys can ever learn to shoot it, and they've been shooting it.
Couldn't throw it in the Tennessee River the night we saw them, though, could they?
Yeah. It was a rough shooting night, but I think the physicality of that game made it rough in Huntsville, and it's what made Houston and Alabama a fun watch, hard to watch if you're a basketball offensive flow of game purist. Ooh. One more thing on Auburn. So many people that are doing well. Tahaad Pettiford, man. Little T probably could talk better about this, but he really seems to only show up for the big games right now. He is a stud. He had 10 last night. Chaney Johnson, who Little T, I think, tabbed before the season started as maybe one of the most valuable players to watch this year. Again, he turns in an 11-8 performance to help out on the boards and everything. Denver running the point at 10. Miles Kelly with 15. But when you watch Auburn and you get away from the skill set of Johni Broome, who was good inside, mid-range, and outside, the chaos is always brought by Chad Baker-Mazara. He's the guy that, he's sort of like the electricity and the current that's going to make Auburn go. If it's an electric vehicle, he is the charging station for Auburn. He's the one that's going to keep them moving down the road.
Look, I know the ultimate Robin analogy is Scottie Pippen, but he plays a little like Pippen. I mean, he can do absolutely everything. He's a great defender.
Yeah.
He can shoot the 3. He's got good handle. I mean, there's really not a weakness in this guy's game.
And he gets in their head. He gets in the opponent's head, the way he plays defense, the swagger that he adds. He can get inside the head. Auburn today, if they win, becomes this Maui Classic almost 50 years. They've been doing this. If Auburn wins today, they become only the 3rd team. I mentioned this on yesterday's show. The 3rd team in SEC history to win the Maui Classic. The other 2 was Vandy in 1986 and Kentucky with Rick Pitino in 1993. No other SEC team's ever gone to the islands in November and walked away with the Maui Classic championship. And they get to do it against Memphis and not UConn today. UConn losing again yesterday. This time to Colorado. No Deion Sanders, Colorado. The basketball version, 73-72. So that's Auburn in the Maui Classic.
If Memphis was to win this game, where are they in the polls? Like
they'll be ranked now regardless.
Oh, yeah, I know that. But I'm just saying if they were to beat Auburn.
I mean, you've got to put them in the top 10.
Yeah, where are they in the Kenpom? That's all that matters, Brown. It's the Kenpom. The AP voters will have them. We'll have them in there for sure.
They are 27th in the Kenpom, Lance. I mean, they look better than 27 to me. I don't know about you, but the Kenpom's where like Houston's 3rd, and they're 3-2. So the Kenpom is not necessarily looking at record. It's looking at a lot of things. The AP is going to look at record and quality of wins, and it's hard to get better quality of wins, and it's impossible to get a better record. So
I
imagine they're top 10.
Yeah, if they go 7, I would agree. Yeah, top 10 is probably right.
So last night, Tyler, if I can get cut number 10, here's Bruce Pearl, wee hours of the morning. Little T, what time did that game end? We were one
Little
in the
T
morning,
says, but
Central
she
time.
says with a question mark at the end of the sentence. Like,
well after midnight. I made some Kansas fans mad on Twitter when I tweeted out that best 2 teams in college basketball are in the same state.
What'd they say to you?
Kansas fans were like, Kansas State's not that good.
That's actually a pretty good comeback.
And I was like, whoa, I'm talking about sweet home Alabama. Here's Bruce Pearl talking about his big stud last night, Johni Broome. Tyler, cut 10. This is Bruce Pearl.
I think you got to remember where Johni Broome came from, and that just doesn't get talked enough about. He's a 3-star out of Tampa Catholic. He's not fast enough. He's not quick enough. He's not good enough. He doesn't make the top AAU teams in Florida. He's a low major, mid-major kid, and all he's ever done his entire career is prove people wrong. Not an NBA player because he's not an NBA athlete. All he does is score, and all he does is defend, and all he does is win. He's an old school player that has developed always an inside game, and he's developed a perimeter game. He's an outstanding passer. He's an outstanding ball handler. He can put the ball down the floor to make plays. I trust him with the ball in his hands in the post, and obviously just a dominant rebounder.
That's Bruce Pearl last night on the Auburn win. So 4:00 today for them. For Alabama, they're back at it tonight, 9:00 as they take on Rutgers. Alabama beat Houston 85-80 in overtime. In that contest, when you watch it, truthfully, I wish Alabama's football team had been that physical in Norman as they were against Houston last night in Vegas.
Well, I think Kelvin Sampson. I mean, he forces other teams to either be physical or get run out of the gym. Alabama was physical last night. It was a tough watch. 74 free throws. And you talked about, you have no tempo, no pacing when you have that many free throws. But Alabama was able to grind it out. I thought Sears' slow start ends up with an Alabama high 24 points in 41 minutes. So he made those key baskets down the stretch. He still looks a little bit off. Made up for it, hitting, shots behind the three, was 12 of 14, from the free throw line. But I don't know about you guys. He just looked a little off.
It was a slow start.
Yeah.
And a lot of his game is going into the paint and drawing contact and either getting the finish in a three-point play or getting to the stripe.
Which he did a good job last night.
He did a good job of that last night. But then late in the game, it was like the officials were already at the blackjack table. They were done calling fouls. That last Houston possession.
Yeah.
It was no blood, no foul, my friend.
Grant Hill had a great call. He was like, this is like a Bruce Lee film. Their bodies down everywhere.
And there were. And then all of a sudden, Mo Diabate is laying on the baseline.
Bruce Lee coming up in 4 downs. Amazing.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That is a weird coincidence.
And it had nothing to do with Grant saying that.
Yeah, that was a weird coincidence because I didn't even hear Grant say that. I had the volume up, but it didn't stick with me. But anyway, then you got Mo Diabate, who had an amazing game, just laying on the floor. There are bodies everywhere, and all of a sudden, Alabama's got the ball with a chance to close it out.
Well, Diabate, almost one of the top 5 shots in Alabama basketball history. Would that be fair?
I don't know.
Oh, that would have been unbelievable.
It would have been unbelievable.
Would have been a walk-off.
Top 5.
It was spot on. Which was closer, the Butler shot to win the national championship or Diabate?
Really?
Yeah.
Butler hit back rim. So it's at least got enough.
Well, I thought Hayward's hit backboard, hit front rim, and then kind of hit back.
Maybe it
was. It was close. When the back shot on the replay, it looked like when it left his hand, it was in.
Yeah, when it left his hand in real time, I didn't think it had enough to get there.
Yeah, I didn't either.
And then it hit the front of the rim. I was like, holy crap, that thing almost went.
This is why you don't assume anything. You just assumed when Alabama improved their roster and brought in guys like Amori that Mo Diabate's minutes would be limited.
Nope.
He has become a major part of the defense. 10.16 rebounds last night. A lot of those offensive. Alabama almost got 50% of their missed shots on offensive rebounds. They would go back and get their rebound on their missed shots. It was an amazing number last night. Grant Nelson continues to be good defensively, 13 and 10 from him. LJ Cryer had 30 points. They just ran out of gas. They didn't have as many bodies to throw at them. And if you look at depth, we talk about depth for Auburn, depth for Alabama. Auburn had more players than North Carolina. Alabama had more players. They were able to last long. When they got it to overtime, I was like, they've already got 2 of their guys fouled out.
Yep.
2 of their top 3 guys fouled out. Alabama's going to win this in
Yep.
overtime easy, and they did.
Typical Kelvin Sampson, though. He's a 7 or 8 guy. He doesn't play a huge rotation. And Cryer's one of these guys, a Baylor transfer, who played a game high 42 minutes. He just missed a lot of shots. He missed 17 shots from the field last night. Was 2 of 8 behind the arc. He's a really good player, but just didn't have a great game. And when you look at the box score, 30 points, that really jumps out. The crazy thing, if you go through both the Alabama-Houston game and the Auburn-North Carolina game, both teams shot the same percentage. I've never seen that. Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
So look at this. Alabama and Houston both shot 36.7 to 36.9. But I think both North Carolina and
Auburn shot the same?
I'm talking the exact same percentage. Right here, just to show you guys. 43.5 to 43.5.
Yeah. That's pretty crazy. In 2 games like that. Darion Reed, people are saying in the mybookie.ag chat room, the move of the game was to have Reed on Cryer at the end and in overtime. The minutes that guy gets as a true freshman on that talented of a roster is crazy.
Well, and to play a guard like that with that kind of experience,
they put the bigger body on him, and it came right after Grant Hill had made a point, like Kelvin Sampson's big. Some of his passes in the NBA.
Yeah.
And they found a play that was working on the defense for Alabama, and they just did it. They ran it every time. And Cryer was getting sort of that mid-range jumper right at the elbow of the free throw line. And then Grant Hill said, now Nate Oats has adjusted, and he put the bigger body on Cryer. And now they have to go to their next punch. Show being brought to you by Johnson RV. Before we get to that, though, let's listen to Mo Diabate. Cut number 9 last night on Alabama's big win. Now, Alabama's played 3 straight against the top 25. They lose on Purdue's floor. They beat Illinois here in Birmingham, and now they go last night and beat Houston. So Houston's 2 losses are now to the 2 teams in our state. Take that, state of Kansas. Here is Mo Diabate.
Even if it was like any other team that we played, I would have brought the same intensity in the game. I know what I do good on the court. So, Coach told me before the game, this is a Mo Diabate game. So, I was prepared for it. Either if we played any other team, I was going to bring the same intensity. So, and, I brought it tonight and we got the win.
Mo Diabate night there for his game. LeBaron Philon, who's been so big in the first one, that game didn't sort of come to him. He had lesser minutes. It'll be interesting as they manage the roster.